Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. So my screen is visible?
Yes.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. I'll be discussing should all keratoconic corneas be cross-linked. I'll be talking about some techniques which are available, and then in the end, I'll be discussing some case-based scenarios about the various keratoconus patients for cross-linking. So historically, if we see, the collagen cross-linking was first time described in the Technical University of Dresden in Germany, and by Wolensak et al. In 2003. Hence, it came to known as Dresden Protocol. Uh, Now, what are the principles of collagen cross-linking? In corneal ectasias, the cross-links between the adjacent collagen fibers are fewer. So this leads to ectasia in the long term. So we need to, in this technique, after debriding the epithelium in the conventional technique, the cornea is saturated using a riboflavin dye for about 30 minutes, followed by UVA radiation of 370 nanometer for a variable duration depending upon the protocol to be followed. This results in increase in number of crosslinks over a period of time, and this leads to strengthening of the corneal tissues, and it stops further progression of corneal ectasias. Now, what are the various indications for collagen cross-linking? The indications are ectasias as well as some non-ectatic disorders. In the ectasias, primary ectasias like keratoconus and pellucid marginal degenerations, and post-LASIK ectasia in the secondary ectasias, there the collagen cross-linking is done. In non-ectatic disorders, infectious keratitis, bullous keratopathy, chemical injuries, anterior marginal degenerations are some of the indications. Although the evidence for performing collagen cross-linking in these is small, but this is being done. What are the various protocols? These could be the conventional protocols, accelerated protocols, and iontophoresis. In the conventional techniques, the conventional Dresden protocol where the epithelium epi-off collagen cross-linking is done, then there may be epi-on collagen cross-linking. In the accelerated, we have a continuous or a pulsed accelerated collagen cross-linking. When should we do the cross-linking? So in keratoconus patients, the corneal thickness should be more than 400 micron for isosmolar collagen cross-linking, whereas if the corneal thickness is above 350 micron to 400 micron, we can go ahead with a hypoosmolar collagen cross-linking. In the children, usually where there is an early onset of keratoconus, they are at a higher risk of collagen cross-linking failures. So in these patients, we may not wait for the keratoconus progression to be documented, and we may go ahead with the collagen cross-linking at an earlier stage if the risk factors are high. Usually they require to be done under GA, and a frequent post-op follow-up is required in these patients. Now, there is no consensus as such till now about the keratoconus progression. Various criteria have been described from time to time, like in the Dresden protocol in 2003, increase in Kmax by more than 1 diopter, patient self-report of deteriorating visual acuity, and need of new contact lens fitting more than once in 2 years were taken as a keratoconus progression. Hirsch et al. In 2011 gave the keratoconus criteria as follows: increase of more than 1 diopter in the steep K, increase of more than 1 diopter in the manifest cylinder, and increase of more than 0.5 diopter in spherical equivalent, one or more of the following in over 2 years period. So they took this as a keratoconus progression criteria. Similarly, Mezzotto et al. In 2014 also describes some criteria, and Gomes et al. In 2015 gave a bit more generalized criteria, as they said that no specific values can be given because they considered that these values are specific for each device. So they gave 3 criteria. So any consistent change in at least 2 of these criteria should be there. These included progressive steepening of anterior corneal surface and progressive steepening of posterior corneal surface, progressive thinning, and our increase in rate of corneal thickness change from periphery to the thinnest point. They also kept one open-ended criteria, which stated that collagen cross-linking could be indicated if there is a perceived risk of progression if the progression is not documented. So which one is better, epi-on or epi-off? the evidence goes in favor of epi-off. Epi-on has got some advantages, like it avoids post-op pain. It also avoids infectious keratitis and pigment epithelial detachment, which may be some rare complications in epi-off. But the efficacy is poor. One study found that there is only 1/5 of biochemical stiffening compared to Dresden protocol in epi-on technique, and because of unreliable penetration of riboflavin. Now, standard or accelerated. Now, three major studies have been done comparing the standard protocol and accelerated. One, Canelopoulos in 2012. They found no difference between the Dresden protocol and accelerated collagen cross-linking. Dr. Shetty et al. In 2015, they compared the Dresden protocol with accelerated cross-linking by using 9, 18, and 30 milliwatt per centimeter square criteria, and they found that Dresden showed better flattening effect compared to accelerated one. And they found that out of the accelerated, the 9 milliwatt per centimeter square for 10 minutes was better than other two. In Medros et al. In 2016, they did a 1-year follow-up, and they found that accelerated corneal cross-linking is safe and effective, but flattening effect is less than Dresden protocol. Now, with accelerated, some other problems and some other factors came into play. One was supplemental oxygen. So, adequate oxygen is must in stroma for cross-linking to happen. So high irradiance with shorter radiation time may lead to higher oxygen consumption, as in cases of accelerated. So a supplemental oxygen is being studied. Many researchers are studying this, and results are still in the primitive stage. Then accelerated can be performed by either a continuous irradiation or a pulsed irradiation. Now, pulsing of UV light during collagen cross-linking, again, it allows reoxygenation during the pauses in the exposure. So again, this is being studied by many researchers. There are few articles which are available in the literature, but still no definitive conclusions can be drawn. Iontophoresis is another technique where epithelium is not removed and a low intensity electric current is passed through the cornea by using 2 electrodes. It allows riboflavin penetration through the epithelium. Non-invasive technique, better saturation than epi-on approach. Again, much more effective than without this, and but inferior to standard Dresden protocol. Now, I'll just take one more minute. What if there is no documented progression? Now, this patient in the right eye had a corneal hydrops. In the left eye, the keratoconus is there. So should we wait for any documenting progression? No, not in such cases where there is a hydrops in the other eye, adverse event has already taken place. So we should go ahead with the collagen cross-linking in the other eye. Other eye status in this, as you can see in the left eye, the pachymetry was 399 and steep K was 48. This is a pentacam image of another patient where the Kmax is 67 and thinnest pack is 355. So again, we will not wait for documenting progression, keratoconus progression, because then it will go beyond the range of collagen cross-linking. So we'll go ahead with the collagen cross-linking in this case. Now, in this case, right eye and left eye, you can see the pachymetry is 515 and Kmax is also not very high. So here we can wait 6 monthly repeating the pentacam or any tomograph, and then document progression, and then go ahead with the cross-linking if required. This is my last case. This is a Cyrus photograph. In the right eye, 428 is the pachymetry. In the left eye, 376. But Kmax values are very high, 71 and 76. So in this left eye, collagen cross-linking immediately, and since Kmax value is very high, so similarly for the right eye, we should go ahead with the collagen cross-linking. Thank you.